Thank you for letting us present this today. I'm super excited about it. And really what I want to do is just, go through Buildbase and show everybody what it can do and how it works. And I've often been accused of training rather than demoing. So I'll be careful of not to do that. So we'll just kind of dive right in. And if you do have questions, like Kay said, just put them in the comments. I will tell you that I've got enough stuff on my screens that it looks like I'm an air traffic controller. So I'm not really going to look at the camera. So if you're waving at me, I probably can't see it. So at any time, Kay, if you've got questions or we need to stop, just tell me to hush and I'll be quiet. So let's just get started here. Where I like to usually start in talking about Buildbase, or with any product, honestly, is just to kind of talk about what it is and explain it a little bit. And the first thing I like to show with Buildbase is this little image. It's not the prettiest, but it's here. And so I kind of put this together just to kind of talk about what Buildbase is. And so Buildbase is, an end-to-end ERP that offers everything we need that we can support the business with. But you'll notice I've also got Dynamics in there. So Buildbase and Dynamics work together, and you'll hear me say that throughout the dialogue today. We use Dynamics 365 Business Central version, and Buildbase works with that and in conjunction with that. So a lot of times you may hear me say, we're going to put it in Buildbase, or we're going to put it in here and put it in the system. There's no syncing required. It's all one system. And so they work together and function together to give us everything that we need. So in the demo today, that's what I'm going to spend time doing, is talking about all the functionality. And so when you think about Buildbase, it's Buildbase and Dynamics work together. And there are different portals, if you would, access points where, depending on your responsibility in the home building industry, you may enter in and work with the system through that. So that's what we're going to do today in the demo, is focus on kind of going through all of the applications and what exactly this will do. And I usually like to kick off with sales, because who doesn't like sales, right? So we'll talk about sales. So the first thing I'm going to put up on the screen is going to be the sales app. So as we said, Buildbase allows different portals for users to get into, and one of those is our sales app. And so I'm going to pop this up on the screen here. And so here's our Buildbase sales app. Now, one of the things that I'll talk about a little bit on this app is we offer a Buildbase sales app, and this is going to be in the App Store. And so if you're an internal user working for a home builder, you'll be able to download it from there, as well as for customers. And much like a lot of what you'll see, there's a lot of customization that can come with that. And so the Buildbase app, for example, we can customize this app to have your logos, your color scheme, as well as if if your home builder is Premier Homes, we can call it My Premier Homes, or whatever you'd like for it to be. And so that's kind of the first thing about the app. The second thing I want to mention about the app is that we can customize this. It's as far as the steps in the process. One of the things I love about the app is that using it as far as a sales tool is there are going to be steps throughout the process. And so it's really kind of a wizard mode. So the sales agent has to complete each step completely before they go to the next one. And so we can build in the controls. And when I say build in, it's really more select the controls that you want and customize it to meet your needs. So really handy, and I love that part about it. So this is the app, and I've got my phone linked up here. As you can see, most of it, unfortunately, I am in Texas. I wouldn't say unfortunately, but I'm in Texas, so you're going to hear me probably say some things like y'all and things like that today, so just bear with me. But this is the app. Did it go blank?
No, we can see it, Josh.
We can see it.
Wow, okay, I thought it went away. Perfect. If it ever goes blank, then somebody text me. Okay, so this is the app, and here I'm going to be dealing with kind of Central Texas, or maybe really Austin area. And so as you can see here, it looks very similar to like what you would see on a website for a home builder, and that's by design. And so one of the things we can do is we can set up your regions or your cities that you want to build in. And when an internal user or customer is in, they've got a good robust search feature they can use. Now, in this specific example, I'm logged in as an internal sales agent, and there are a couple of minor differences between what a customer will have access to and a salesperson will. and I'll point those out when we get there. But so far, all of this is going to be what a customer or internal user would see. And so as a customer, I can come in and I can select which region I want to be in or which city I want to be in, and it'll highlight on the app, and I can filter my search. And along with being able to look for a specific region or city, there's also some good filtering here as far as bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, price range, and all that good stuff. So I can basically filter down the homes I want to get to. This is probably nothing new for you. On just about every website out there, you can see this. And then once I'm happy with my search, I can click View Homes. And now the app is going to find all the homes that meet that criteria. And I can scroll through and find the ones that I want. Again, on this display, it's going to show the address and the project and the pricing and all that good stuff. Some nice features about it for the customer is that it's interactive, like a Zillow or Realtor.com, things like that. You can make a favorites list and all that good stuff here as well. I'm not going to go too much into that, but it's what you would expect it to be. I can hit the heart and have a favorite list. But once I find a home that I'm interested in, I can click on that home, and this is where we can link pictures, images of the home, either just stock photos or specific ones for that home from Buildbase. And it's all very simple to do. And so the customer can come in and scroll through the images. They can also see all the information about the home here. And then at the bottom, you can see we've even got a place where it shows the estimated monthly mortgage payment, and can interact with the house here. Now, again, I'm logged in as internal sales agent. So if you notice those two red buttons at the bottom, one of them looks like a little file folder and one of them says make an offer. This is the difference that you get as an internal user. So for a customer, they will not have the red documents folder, which I'm going to explain in a moment. And the make an offer button will not be there. The button will be there, and it can be whatever you want it to be. For example, in our demo environment, we've got a button there that says hold or request hold. And really that's just for the customer that is like, I have got to have this house. I need to talk to somebody right now. I want to make an offer. What do I need to do? And that's where they can hit that button, and then it just takes it to the next level. Now we've got the little phone icon at the bottom, as well as the mail icon. The phone number can be tied to whatever you want it to be. And so it can be, for your entire company, or it can be project specific. So they can click on that to get a hold of someone. And then the mail icon is just your standard kind of contact us form. They can fill that out as well. Now, the other thing that we have here is the documents button. And somebody may already be like, man, we're 5 minutes into this and he's been talking about sales the whole time. The reason I'm bringing some of this up is because what you're seeing here is the fruition of the setup that we've done in Buildbase and how we're now using that information with something like this sales app, which is pretty amazing. So the documents icon in Buildbase, and you're going to see that later, is we have Buildbase docs. And this is where we can load all the documents that are required for a home. And then they're linked here, so that way a sales agent has access to them. So if this is a spec home that's under construction, if I click on documents, I'm going to be able to see all the documents that were already loaded for this home. And so when I'm working with a customer, or if I'm out and about, I can come to this address and click on the cabinet layout, for example, and see the cabinet layout right there, boom, at my fingertips. Really great feature. I love that part about it. So I can also see that there. Now, if I go back, the other red button that we see there is the make an offer button. Now, this is available for sales folks. They can actually write an offer and complete it through all the steps on their mobile device out in the field. We actually have a client that has been using this now for, I guess, a couple of years, and they use it in the field. I actually spoke to in person with some of the sales team, including their head of sales, and they use it out in the field. It's pretty impressive. So I'm going to walk you through that now. So I'm going to click the make an offer button. So we found our house. This is the one we want. And here we can see we've got the address at the top. We have an existing sales offer, and I'm going to use that one, but I promise you I'm not trying to hide anything. The only reason I did that is because I've got Bob Smith already typed up, and I didn't want to waste 5 minutes showing you how to type all that stuff in. So we'll kind of go over that. But here we can see all the details about this address. So I see there's an existing offer. But if I scroll, I can also see all of the information about the house, pricing and number of bathrooms, bedrooms, all that good stuff. So what I can do is I can either click the draft a new offer button, or I can click on this existing one for Bob Smith. And this is what I like. I'm in a step system now, a wizard system, as you want to say. Dan probably would slap me. I think it's called wizard mode, but step 1 through 5. Step 1 is the model and design interior. As you can see here at the bottom, you'll see design interior. So it says contemporary classic. One of the things that we have the ability to do in Buildbase is build designer color palettes, which is kind of like the hottest thing. I remember when I worked for a national builder, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, when it kind of hit the market and everybody wanted palettes, let somebody else design it, cut down on design time at the studio. That's what this is for. So in Buildbase, we have the ability to create a custom style, is what we call them. You may call it a palette, but we can go in and say, gosh, I want to do one called, contemporary classic. And I want to have this level 2 cabinet with this color, this level 3 carpet with this color, and put all those options together and make one package. So whenever I click that button, it just applies all those to the house. And you go in design studios now, you got sample boards and all that good stuff. This just simplifies that. So you can do that in the app. You can pick the style or the design interior that you want. Now that we've done that, and that's already selected, you'll notice at the bottom, there's a little yellow arrow, and you're going to see that throughout the rest of the steps that we're in. And so I'm going to click that. And here you're going to see that I'm now in step 2. Now, step 2 is where I can add, sorry, my internet's dragging a little bit. Step 2 is where we can add standard upgrades and custom upgrades. And when I was talking about customization earlier, this is where you can customize. So at the top, you notice it says existing Schedule Bs. So one particular builder that we deal with calls them a Schedule B. You may call it a customer selection or option selections or whatever you want to call it. That's where we can change that. But we've got standard upgrades and custom upgrades. Standard upgrade being something we've already built in the system and it's priced out for every plan. Custom upgrade being a non-standard option, miscellaneous option, whatever you want to call it. We've got the ability to handle that here as well. And so if I wanted to add some standard upgrades to this house, I can click on the little red plus button. And now I've started a standard upgrade list and I can click on that. And then here you would see the options that you want to flow over to the application. So I'm going to click this granted option, add that. And now we go back to the previous screen and now we can see that it pulled in the option as well as the pricing for the option. And I can add custom upgrades as well. Now, one of the things that folks usually say is like, oh, what are you doing? I do not want salespeople picking, granite and cabinets and countertops and all that. So we can filter this or set it so that you only see the structural options that you would want your sales team to pick at that time. So maybe they would just see the 15, options like adding a game room or converting a bathroom or something like that. So this is step 2. Again, they can't, once we have this in here, they can't miss the step because we've got it here. So I'm going to click the little arrow, go to the next step. We're now in step 3. Now this is where if we didn't already have the purchaser information in here, this is where we would add it. And so here we can already see that I've got Bob Smith there. So I can click on Bob Smith. And if I wouldn't, if I wouldn't have had previously have had Bob Smith in there, sorry, my fingers. So if I wouldn't have had Bob Smith in there, this would all be blank. And this is where I would fill that out. But again, this is configurable by company. So if you have certain things you want to capture, that's totally fine. And we can just put everything in this screen here. We can make fields required. The ones that you have to have can be in here as well. So once we get all the details for the purchaser entered, we go back out and we're still in step 3. Step 3 is where we can review all the pricing details, review everything about the house. And this is where we also add in the offer amount. So we can type in the offer amount and any additional fields that we want. We've also got a section at the bottom called builder information, but this could be any additional fields that you want to capture on the contract can be put here. If there's stuff about stipulations or any kind of contingency, things like that can be added here as well. So once we're done with that, go to step 4. Now, step 4 is kind of a 2-parter, but I want to explain something to make it clear. So in the current builder that we have, they have certain documents that they feel like are needed to be assigned on a customer by customer basis. My experience, especially in Texas, is that we already know the documents that we need. So we know the contract and we know the specific documents by project that we need. And so Buildbase allows you to do that. So in Buildbase, in the sales contracts, we can you have the ability to build it yourself, build your contract yourself. You do not have to know HTML front to back, and you do not have to be a programmer. You can build your own contract, and then you can take documents. So if you've got specific covenants requirements for each neighborhood, if you've got a neighborhood, I don't know, near an airport or something, and you've got to do a noise disclosure, you can tie those in and make it so that anytime an offer is written in that community, those documents show. Okay, so that's already in there. This is for if you have a specific document that you really just want the customer to double check to see if this particular buyer needs it, that you can put these here. Now, if that document was here, the salesperson would just select it and then go to the next step. Now, in addition to that, this is kind of part 2 of section 3. These are additional custom fields that you can add. You don't have to use them, but you can add them if you want. This particular builder uses something they call OTP, is offer to purchase. And in this example, it's a multifamily unit, and they want their sales agent to go ahead and reserve them a parking stall number, and they want it in here in the contract. And so this is just, again, anything extra that you want to get your sales folks to know they can. So we wrap that up. And here we are. We are now in, I think I said step 3, we were in step 4, sorry. We are in step 5 now, and this is where everything is going to be here. We can review everything that we've done and make sure everything is good to go, and then we can simply generate the contract. Excuse me. So I generate the contract, and now whatever we have loaded in Buildbase for this community is going to flow through here, and we can fill it out. So all of the fields that we've deemed as the builder, we've deemed required, have to be filled out here, but certain fields are already going to flow based upon things we entered. So we've already entered the purchaser address and our address of the home and the purchaser name and all that stuff. That flows through and gets put in the contract. And then at this point, mark it as written, share it out, and it goes out to anybody that you want on your list, and then feeds into whatever you want, if it's DocuSign, whatever it may be. So good overview of that. Well, I shouldn't say it's a good overview because I did it, but I hope that's a good overview for you on that. And so I'd kind of like to switch gears at this point. Now we've talked about sales. Since we wrote an offer and we've got that now, where did all that come from, right? So right now I've just showed you a flashy app and you're like, how did that even work? So what I'd like to do is switch gears and move over into what I call our purchasing and estimating portal, and talk a little bit about how all that stuff gets built behind the scenes. So this is our Dynamics, what I like to call our purchasing and estimating portal. And in this screen, this is where your purchasing and estimating folks are going to spend a lot of their time. They're going to be in different menus as well, but this is where they're going to spend the majority of their time. Now I've got a ton of access just because of what I do and who I am. And so you'll see a lot of stuff on the screen. Don't be worried about it because these are all customizable. Within Dynamics, you can personalize the screen, turn things off, turn things on. And so for the most part, I'm going to be dealing in 2 major things in my daily work as a purchasing and estimating personnel, items and jobs. And so I'm going to start just by coming here and clicking on my item library. And Buildbase, in regards to items, is similar to other systems as far as an item is everything that you think it would be. Okay, an item can be a piece of 1/2-inch drywall, piece of thermoply, a tree. Items can be unit price. They can be bid, turnkey, labor only. All the things that you normally think they can be. But that's kind of where the similarities stop between Buildbase and other systems out there. In Buildbase, items are those things, but items are also base plans and options. So we use items for everything, and we've got some real horsepower with that. So in the examples I'm going to show you today, it's just my way of being trained is I built all the information that's in here. And so when you see a plan, you're likely going to see like the 1460A Magnolia. The 1460 just refers to the square footage, super tiny house, right? So the 1460A is a Magnolia is one of our base plans. And so we create it as an item. And the nice thing about Buildbase and Dynamics is that we can create item assemblies. So you'll hear this term, assembly bomb, item assembly. That means that I can create a base plan as kind of a container or a folder, and then I can put items inside it. And so if you look at this main menu here, I've got my 1460A Magnolia base plan, and then here it says yes for assembly BOM. So if I click on this, you'll see all the items that it takes to build this house are housed within the base plan. And here I can see my item number, the description. I can also see if it's an assembly BOM, meaning if there's stuff inside of that item, as well as quantity and unit of measure for the house. So for example here, this is where we build our takeoffs, and these are our different junctions. So I can have the 1460A, and then I can build an assembly with all of my roof deck material or my frame labor or frame drop for frame drop one, my cornice drop, and all those good things, and put them in the system here. As well as being able to use items as base plans, items are also used as options. And so in this 1460A Magnolia plan, I can also come down here and see that I've got all of the options for this house as well, all housed in one spot. Now, when you're dealing with building houses, obviously there's a ton of items involved and a ton of items needed to be able to pull that off. So if I go back to my library, I want to kind of show you some of the search features that we have. So obviously, and if you've ever used Microsoft Dynamics, you'll know that they've got really good searching features and all that. We've kept that in place. So I've got a quick search here, which allows me to find any item in this massive library that I want. In addition to that, I've got an extremely robust advanced filter over here where I can find all the items I want very easily. But in addition to that, we've also got item attributes. So item attributes is really, if you've ever worked in a system where there is maybe an item group and an item subgroup, attributes is that, but it's even more because it's so flexible. But here you can create, like for example, drywall. I've got an attribute called drywall, and then I've got values called materials, and we assign those to our items so that way we can really speed up and really give horsepower to the searching abilities that are already there. And so, for example, and again, just like with any system, good naming conventions are important, right? You know, being able to name your items and your lumber a certain way. But the searching is fantastic because now I can come into my attributes and I can say filter by attribute. And let's say that I wanted to find appliances. So I can click on appliances and now I can find all the refrigerators. And so by selecting refrigerators, now the system is going to honor that and boom, find me only the refrigerators because that's what I wanted and that's what I wanted to see. Now, using attributes works that way, and then I can still use my quick search within that. So if you did a attribute filter search for all your lumber items, then you can get it narrowed down to the 500 lumber items you have, and then you can still use the quick search to search within that. But what's also nice about this, and you'll see it throughout Buildbase, is we are very heavy on import-export with Excel. So if you're an Excel fan, which most folks that are in purchasing and estimating are, the nice thing is that you are able to import and export with ease. So once we have our item list narrowed down to the things that we want to see, we can quickly click this button. You'll see it available on every screen within the system, especially in Dynamics. And we can download those items and be able to work with them however we want. And then if I want to clear my filter, obviously I can just clear it. Now, dealing with all of these items obviously is a big part of our business. And so, being in purchasing, I am from purchasing. I spent a lot of time in purchasing. A lot of systems out there, I have to go in and I have to create one item. So if I'm creating 2x4, stud 92 5/8, and then I got to do my 102 5/8, and blah, 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 blah. Most systems that I've dealt with anyway, I have to go in and put that stud in, assign everything to it, hit save, go back, create the next one, and just on and on and on. Not just item creation, but even dealing with items. And so the Buildbase team did a really good job of really thinking about, they didn't really just look at a system and say, how do these guys do it? How do these guys do it? They looked at the users and said, how do you do your job? I don't care about how you have to do it. What's the function of how you do your job? And so they were able to answer a lot of these questions with being able to do things in bulk and in mass to really cut some time down. So everything you're going to see in the system today, I set it up all by myself. I didn't have a team of people with me. I went in, and it actually took longer to make up fake plans and make up fake items than it did to actually put it in the system. The reason I say that is because we've got a lot of bulk tools that are at our disposal anytime dealing with items. And so one of my favorites is this one, bulk item library update. So this is an attachment that they, an enhancement that they put into Dynamics to marry it to Buildbase, where we can deal with items in bulk. So for example, this bulk item library update, I can use these filters to find the items that I want to deal with and modify and change, pull them out into Excel and modify them, pull them back in. But in addition to that, I can create new items as well. So all the items that I created, I didn't click through one screen at a time and create each one of these items. I was able to do it in bulk and pull them back into the system. And again, I don't want to go in too much detail with it and get into a training session, but it's not just limited to that. We've got bulk item update. That's really for dealing with just changing existing items that are out there and maybe a couple other modifications. Bulk item cost update. I can export all of the costs for a vendor or for an item or for multiple, and just you name it, and I can adjust the costing that way. Same thing with the draw update. I can adjust multiple draw updates or draws. Bulk item library update, it's not just limited to creating new items. In addition to that, I can actually build my takeoffs. So I can tell the system, this is the 1460A Magnolia. These are all the items I want to be in the takeoff. And I can copy and duplicate that very simply. And then primary vendor update as well. Anyway, on and on and on. I can talk about it for a while, but I want you to keep an eye on that, because that's one of the things you'll see throughout the system, is that Buildbase really addresses a lot of the tedious, labor-intensive stuff. So if you've got folks on your team or you yourself love to use Excel, which again, purchasing folks and estimating folks do, this is something you're going to love, because you can pull it out, manipulate it, throw it back in, and move on with your day. So bulk tools are huge. So we talked about items a little bit, but now how do we convert that over to a job? How does that look when we're dealing with the actual jobs? And so I'm going to go back to my main menu, and I'm going to click on this jobs button. And this is a list of all my jobs. Now, when I say jobs, you may call it addresses, you may call it a lot, depending on what the system is that you're used to. That's what you may call it. So when I'm talking about jobs, when I come in here, this is going to show everything in order by project. And so here I went with Bunton Creek, and these are all the jobs that are in Bunton Creek. And then the next one is my Cedar Oaks. And so it's going to lay it all out nice and neat by project. Okay. You'll also see that we've got building and units. So Buildbase does handle multifamily as well as single family, apartments, whatever you want. So I'm going to click on this house right here. And again, these screens are customizable. I'm going to scroll down though, and I can see that the 1460A Magnolia is already assigned to this house. If I go a little bit further, I can also see what we call our job planning lines, which gives me all the costs and breakdowns of everything that's on the house. But I can go a little bit further than that. And this is the part that I love, because I'm used to seeing the budget laid out a certain way. And I'm very particular about how I want to see the data, the way my mind thinks. And that's what's nice. This will meet the needs of however you like to see the information. So if I click on this navigate button and go to job planning lines, this lays everything out as far as on this particular job. Now, I can also change the order. So I prefer to see things by uniformat code, cost type, whatever you guys refer to it as. So this lays out all my costs by cost type for this home. I can see the items, the quantities, unit of measure. Now in this example, we've already actually issued all the purchase orders, so I can see the purchase orders here as well. And I can click on these purchase orders, and it will give me all the details and a breakdown. Now this is not what the purchase order looks like for the vendor, and I'll show you that in a little bit. This is just the detailed version that the internal folks will be able to see. And so I've already got all this purchase orders created and whatnot, which is really, it's quick, it's fast, it's easy. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, and you're not going to say it because you're nice, but you're like, he set that up so that we could see it. And he's not showing us the good, bad, ugly. So I'm glad you said that. So here, let me show you something. So I'm going to go into this one. This is another job, 503 Bunton. Oh, I'm sorry. I had 507 was one that was blank. So let me go to this one. So here's a house right here. And as you can see, before we saw the template was assigned there. So I'm going to show you just how easy it is to assign. So I'm going to click assign a template. This is going to be my list of plans. And so I can click in and assign one. And so if I click that, boom, it's assigned. Now, at this point, there's no takeoff there. And the reason I'm showing you this is because in my experience, it was a lot of times, especially if you're spec heavy, there's a lot of times you're gonna want to go ahead and plot out what you're building on that lot, but you may not start it for 3 months, 6 months, whatever your cadence is. So I might not want to put the takeoff on there yet because I know that things are probably going to change and maybe we modify things. So you don't have to put the takeoff on it. And when I say takeoff, the system refers to that as exploding a template. So I've got my Magnolia plan assigned. Now, right now, there's no takeoffs in it. So if I want to, I can come in here and say explode template, and I'm going to hit yes. And now it's finding all the takeoffs and all the items, and boom, it puts them on the job. So now we have all of our costs put in for this. So if I go up here to navigate, click on job planning lines, just like we said before, all of my costs and all my takeoffs are now in this job. Everything's here, everything's lined out. And I can even issue purchase orders, which is also extremely simple. I'm going to click this, perform initial purchase orders. Yes. Now, I don't know about you, but in old systems that I had, this would take 5, 6, 7 minutes. Here, I think we've got 83 purchase orders done. I click OK. If I want, just because I don't trust it, I can go back and look, and now I can see it issued all the purchase orders for that house. I mean, boom, that quick. In addition to that, if we add options, when you add the option to the house, it immediately creates the purchase order for you. So it's done. You don't have to mess with it anymore. And if you remove it and modify purchase orders on the vendor portal side, it knows when I'm messing with it. So it'll hold that purchase order and still keep it there as a placeholder, but it'll tell the vendor, hey, we're working on this right now. So anyway, I can go on and go down that. So maybe when we get to the question and answer section, if you got more questions about that, we can dig in a little further. But as you can see, it's very user-friendly and intuitive and designed so that you can just go boom, 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 super fast and move through it. So, all right, so this is the dynamics portion, the purchasing and estimating, dashboard, if you will, or portal, if you will. So now we're going to shift over to the Buildbase main menu. And you don't want to see that right there. So I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. So this is our Buildbase main menu. This is what most of your users are going to use, your superintendents, your sales folks. Purchasing will be in here as well. This is kind of the view the vendors, this is the view the vendors are going to see. They just won't have as much access. But this is the Buildbase main menu. And as you can see, we've got huge buttons, right? Makes it super easy for folks that are on phones and iPads. Very intuitive. So they, I'm in, whatever, I'm in sales. So I'm going to click on this button because it says sales. So makes it pretty easy. The other thing that's really nice is that we took into account that a lot of people are going to be on mobile devices. So it's got a responsive screen. So no matter what kind of device you're on, it's going to adjust. And so it's not going to be, the user experience is going to be the same no matter what you're on. So this is our main menu. I want to kind of take a tour now. So we were talking about purchasing and how takeoffs and base plans interact with jobs. So now I'm going to show you some amazing features as far as our project management application. So I can click on the big button here, but I do want to draw your attention to this side menu. Now this has got the same features as the big buttons, but maybe you prefer that if you're on a computer or a laptop. And so I'm going to click on the project management module. And as you can see here, this is a list of all of my active projects for Premier Homes. Now, at any time, I can click on this little box here to show archive jobs. And so at one point we had a Zebra Cove. I can click off of that. Now, the way this is organized is if I click on one of the projects, it's going to expand and show me all of the jobs or addresses that are in that project. And if it's a multifamily, I can click on it again and it'll explode. So if you see here, it says building. So it's laid out by project, then building, then unit. And if you're on a PC or a laptop or a computer, when you hover over it, it's going to tell you what it is, but it's pretty clear to see how it's laid out. And we've got the gear icon, and the gear icon contains all the information about the project or the building or the unit. And so if I were to click on the building icon or the gear icon for the project, then here I can see all the details about the project. And again, this is one of those sections where We have very few required fields that are needed, obviously, to make everything work in the system. There's things we have to have. But in addition to that, we have a lot of fields that are available. So depending on what you want in your organization, we can add fields or maybe remove fields from here to give you the information you want. And so if I click on the building or the unit, the same thing would show. So now I'm going to see the unit details, and you can see that they expand here. So I could add all the information that's needed. Now, the reason I'm showing you this screen, though, is this is where you have the ability to add new projects and new jobs. And without going into too much detail, if we wanted to add a new project, I can just click on this little plus icon here, and I can add all the information about the new project that I'm wanting to add. Super simple, totally easy. If we typed all this in and hit add, boom, it's going to show up on the screen. You can do that. In addition, if we wanted to add new jobs to this project, I can click on the project, and here you can see we can add a building, we can add a unit, and we can do it one by one by one. Works totally fine and it's great. But if you remember, what we've been kind of talking about through this is the idea of making things faster and easier. We can do this in bulk as well. So quite frankly, when they showed me the system for the first time and started training me, once they showed me how to do it singularly, I was like, oh, great, this is easy, much easier than what I'm used to dealing with other systems. But once they showed me the bulk, I never went back to the singular way. So what I can do is in the project management icon over here, I've got a bulk update button. Now the bulk update button is a place where I can add new jobs, being projects, buildings, or units in bulk, but I can also modify existing jobs, projects, buildings, or units in bulk. And so, for example, let's say you have, now if you've got one project and you don't even have the lots yet, then maybe you want to do it in the project management app just as a one-off. However, if you're adding a new project and you've got 100 lots in it, you probably want to use this application. So the way this works is, first I have to pick what kind of job type I want to deal with, whether it's project, building, or unit. So if I want to do project, I can click create new job, export, and then it gives me an Excel spreadsheet with the fields that I need to complete. I fill it out, save it, and then I come back here and I click create new job import. I browse on my computer to find it, hit the import button, boom. We go back into project management, we see the project there. Once you've done that and your new project is in, then I can come in here and say I want to create my buildings or my units. Same process. Now I download that. Now for me, working for a larger builder in the Austin, San Antonio area, we would have land development deals where, one phase is liable to be, 100, 150 lots. And so my land development team would give me a spreadsheet with the lot, block, address, all that good stuff. And then I had to translate that manually one by one into the system. The nice thing about this is that it's going to be in the spreadsheet already. So they're going to send that to me. So now I can copy and paste and throw that stuff in there. But you may be asking, why do we have the ability to edit existing jobs as well? Well, it goes back to being able to modify, correct mistakes, change the names of some things that you had in there. For me, the thing that I like about it is that in a fast-paced production world, you may have land development may give you the lot and blocks, but don't have the addresses approved by the city or municipality yet. So you can still load all of those and get started on doing everything, starts, permitting, whatever you're going to do. And then you can export them back out once you have the addresses and add them back in to export them back in or import them back in. So great features. Now, one of the things I like to mention when we're talking about project management in terms of jobs is that because you're in this nice, pretty interface and you see this, you think, well, I guess it has to sync over to the more complex screen in Dynamics. But you can't think like that because it's one system. So the second that I'm entering a project, and listen, you don't even want to get Dan Stern started because he'll talk about it for 10 minutes. When I'm entering them in here, I'm entering them into Dynamics. It's boom, it's happening. There's not a sync, there's not a connection. So you don't have to worry about that. So again, trying to find a way to ease the burden of the data entry and the amount of time that your purchasing and estimating folks are sitting behind a computer keying data in. was one of the goals here, because we know that a lot of folks are already working on things in Excel, so it's already in that format. And so why not let them use the tools that they're used to be able to do this format. So anyway, that's project management. I want to go a little bit further, but I know I've been talking the whole time. Kay, do I need to stop? Is everything good so far, or do I just keep on going?
Yeah, you're good. Keep on going.
Okay, good. Yeah. I'm not used to this silence. In my house, usually I've been interrupted like 15 times by my kids or my wife at this point. So it's great. Okay, so we talked about that. Now, at any time, I can click on the home button, go back to my main menu. So we talked about purchasing and estimating, all that good stuff. We talked about adding projects, but documents, right? Everybody has tons of documents that they need for project, for building, for units, to support the building process. And so we have an application called Docs. And while it is a document storage solution, that's really oversimplifying what it actually does. So I'm going to click on Docs. With documents, there's really not a need for Dropbox and whatever. We used to use Buzzsaw. I don't know if anybody remembers that. I think it later got called Autodesk, so it's always in my mind. Because with this, we can store all this information. Now, since we already viewed project management in the last segment, you'll notice that Docs looks identical to project management. And this is because we're trying to put that thoughtful design into things so that way users go, oh, I know what this looks like. I know how to interact with this. So again, we've got all the active projects here. We can click on to see archived projects if we want. And in here, the screen works the same way, but instead of seeing the gear icon, we now see a file storage box because we're going to store documents in here. Okay, so the nice thing about this is that I can store documents at the project level, or I can store them at the unit level, right? And when I click on one of these file boxes, I'm going to now see all of the documents that have been loaded for that home. Now, the Buildbase team, when they built this, they were trying to figure out a way to get to the kind of, and I know it's a buzzword, or maybe it's not a buzzword. I get sick of hearing it, but they have a single source of truth, right? Trying to find a place where we can store the documents that are needed to build a house, but also make it so that we know things are going to change, right? You may load the site plan for the house, but something happens, something changes, so we've got to load the new one, right? But in addition to that, a lot of times if you load the new one, then you want to be able to say, is that the new one or the old one? We want to be able to store the old one as well to view that. So this is where we have it covered. So I'm just going to kind of show you all of the documents are laid out. Now they're assigned by what we call document category and document type. So in your organization, you can tell us like, hey, and you set it up yourself. It's super easy to do, but you can say, hey, I want one document category called permitting and starts. And then I want document types assigned to that called permits, site plans, whatever you may want, right? So that's how we organize it. So in this example, if I were to click on the permit, and I can either download it here or I can actually click on this, then I can see the permit for this house. There it is. It's a fake permit. Now, in addition to that, I can also see this little information button here. If I click on that, this is going to keep my log of all the permits that have been loaded. So as you can see, I loaded one on March 24th, and then I replaced it on May 9th. I didn't delete it because I wanted to store that, and the system does that automatically for me, so that at any time I can still click on the old version, still see it, still make sure that I'm good to go, make sure I'm doing what's right. And it's that ability to store that information so that we don't lose track of what we've got. Hope that makes sense. Now, in addition to being able to view it, we've got a favorites button here, which is pretty cool. This is actually really more so designed for vendors, I believe, but internal users like it a lot too. So you can click the favorite button and it's going to automatically make it. So if I were to click it for this one, well, actually, if I were to click it for this one, then the next time that I log in, anything in the plans and architectural plans category and type are going to automatically be at the top. And it's going to save that for me each time. So if there's things like, I don't care about that, put that at the top, put it at the top. I can do that. I've also got the information button, and I can delete documents as well. If I choose to upload a new one, it'll store the old one and the new one, but I can delete them because there is, we recognize there's going to be a time that you'll need to delete that. Now, as of right now, we don't have any kind of limit on the documents you can put in here. And this isn't the only way that you see documents, right? So you can come here and see all of your documents, but the main goal was to be able to take all the documents that are needed for a particular home or project and be able to have them show up where they need to show up. So for example, when we get to purchase orders, you'll see that they're going to be on that screen associated with that specific purchase order for internal users as well as vendors. So that way everybody's got everything that they need. Now, we realize that there's also controls that are needed because we may not want certain folks to see certain documents and we may not want certain folks to be able to delete them. So we've got a really easy way to control this. And I usually don't get into the technical side of this, but I did want to show you because this is extremely user-friendly and easy. So if I go into this bulk document permissions, this would be a list of all of the roles that you have in your organization. Again, this is something that Buildbase is definitely user role based. So if you've got superintendent, area of construction manager, VP of ops, we can create the roles and assign access based upon those roles, including a vendor role. And so we can do that and set them up. So here I've selected 3 of the roles just quickly to kind of show you how this works. And so on the left side, we see all of the document categories we've set up. And then if I click to expand, we can see the document types that are within that category. And then here's where I can go one by one and say, well, the area sales manager can add one, but he can't delete. You get the idea. And we can also got some en masse buttons that you can click and it'll just change the whole line to what you want it to be. So super easy to control and set it up so that way they can you can ensure that people are only seeing what they need to see and what they're supposed to see. All right. So we talked about all that. Now we talked about documents, and since we talked about purchase orders, why don't we go to purchase orders next? So I'm going to go back to my main menu, and I'm going to click on invoicing. Now we're going to talk a little bit more too about invoicing. So depending on where you're at, as far as some areas require invoicing 100%. A vendor has to submit invoice to be paid for a PO. And then there's some parts, of the country where it's more preference. So where I worked for a long time, we didn't do any invoices. So I'm going to show you a little bit of both. So I'm going to click on purchase orders here. And you'll notice right away that this looks a lot like Outlook. That's by design, just ease of use and all that good stuff. One of the reasons that we did it like that, I don't know, I keep saying that, I didn't do it, but I believe one of the reasons was so that whatever workflow your company has can be supported. So one of the things with Buildbase that you'll see, so like the My Home Builder team will sit down with you and figure out what your process is. So if you're a company where you say, my purchasing agents are all entrusted with millions and millions of dollars, and I've got the right people, and if I don't, I'm going to get rid of them. So if they want to issue a purchase order, let them issue the purchase order. I don't need anybody to check it. Or you may work in an organization where you want a purchase order admin to generate the purchase orders, and then you want somebody else to review them, and then you want somebody else to approve them to be released. Whatever your flavor is, we can do that very easily. We can make it where there's a process that has to be followed. So that's where you see the status. There's like open, released, I can't remember. And I think we could even create more. So whatever your process is, don't worry, that can be done. But going back to the reason it looks like this for Outlook, one of the uses for this is that if you are in a workflow like that where there are required approvals, this inbox could be kind of the POs you need to deal with at that time and say, I need to go through these and release these, whatever it may be. In addition to that, it's really just, I found super cool because I can search through here and find the PO I want, click on it, see the PO in the pane, and move on. Now, in addition to being able to just kind of scroll through and look at them, I've also got the search, quick search. I've got the advanced, where I can search by community, PO status, type, vendor, and find everything that I need. So it's a little bit on how to find the purchase orders. But when we're looking at the actual purchase order on the screen, what's nice about this is extremely simplified as compared to some purchase orders that you may see out there. I've got all the information about the PO. I've got the description of the uniformat code or cost type. I've got the amount of the PO, the vendor, the address, And then these are all the items that are on the purchase order as well. Very easy to read, very easy for us to translate to vendors. And then additionally, we've got a place down here where, based upon nomenclature or verbiage that you may want, we can put that so that it appears on each purchase order. In addition to that, we've also got a good breakdown over here. So if you're in the invoicing process and you want to see how much is remaining and how much has been invoiced so far, it's all there as well. Now you may have noticed, and I don't know if I picked one where we've done stuff with, so I apologize if I haven't. I just grabbed a random one down here.
Josh,
yeah.
As an older person, I like the big print. It's very helpful for me. I don't know about anybody else. In the pane on the purchase order, easy to read. Yep.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to kind of count you down a little bit. We're kind of running out of the hour, so I'd like you to kind of tie things up in the next couple minutes if we could.
Oh, yeah, I can do that right now. Perfect.
I know. I know you can.
Sorry. Okay, so man, that went by fast. Okay, so basically that the vendor can click through all of these here, see all their documents, see the payment status and all that good stuff here in this screen. In addition to that, we've got a button for submit invoice that an internal user can use. So if you're an internal user, you can click this and you can submit an invoice on behalf of the vendor. Very easy to do. PO-based invoicing. The vendor's going to see it just like this as well on the vendor portal. They can't submit for more than what's on the purchase order, period. They can only select what they've got here. They send it in. It goes through whatever approval process that you may have in your organization. So a little bit about POs and invoicing. I'm going to go back to this menu here. We've also got construction. Again, trying to keep every user on the screen that they're going to need to be in each day. And so here, if I'm a builder, I'll see the homes under construction. I can click here to kind of get a stage report. Stage 1 foundation, I can approve my tasks here, as well as these action tools here. So from this screen, they can see the documents, just like we've seen earlier. We can also see a progress report, a construction, view construction progress. I can go ahead of stage. This is another way to approve tasks here. So I can click on that and approve the tasks that I want. And everything right here, again, in one spot for the builder to use. But we keep talking about vendor portal, so I do want to show you very quickly the vendor portal. So I'm going to come over here. I'm probably going to have to log back in, but let me see if it makes me. Yeah. So here I'm going to log in as a vendor to give you an idea of what a vendor will see. So I'm logged in as a fence company. Same identical view as what we see internally. Makes it super easy for folks to be trained. Guys in the field can help the vendors if they get lost and don't do something. They've got the submit invoice here as well. Same process. They can click on it, submit the invoice, and then it goes through whatever process you've got internally. And unlike other systems, we don't charge vendors anything to use it. We know that it's a tool for you, and we know that it's something that they're going to pass back along to you anyway if you charge them for it. So that's quick on the vendor portal. The last area I will show you here very quickly is the sales dashboard. Sales managers, this is every sales agent will look, every salesperson will look at this, anybody in the sales department. But what's good about it, depending on their access, is sales managers and sales admins can come in here. They can modify pricing here in one fell swoop. They can see a breakdown and modify it here. And then all of this, boom, straight to the website, so that you're not having to constantly make sure your pricing is up to date. You can do this as needed when you're wanting to do it. So quick on that. The last thing that I will show, and I apologize I went over, I lost total track of time. Last thing I want to show you is support. My home builder realizes that implementation is just part of it, but then it's the support afterwards. So if you have a problem with Buildbase, as far as something goes down, which I have not experienced at all yet, you can come in here and submit a ticket directly to Buildbase where they can get it. But we've also got lots of tools to be able to help you do self-guided learning and things like that. And so if I click on help here, you'll see we've got a variety of topics in here. And so if I come in and I wanted to click on one of these, I can view a quick video. And we also have a ton of PDF guides. So if you like to watch a video, or if you like to go through and see a PDF guide with screenshots and detailed instruction on how to do that, the guy that made that stuff is extremely intelligent. I'm just kidding. So anyway, I'm sorry I went long, so I'm going to shut up. I'll hand it back to Kay or Stuart or whoever I need to let it go back to. Thank you all for listening.
We thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we hope to see you for future webinars.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Josh. And Dan Stearns.